So, hello and welcome to another, and indeed a very special episode of Nich and Jon Is This Evangelion.
Yeah.
Because we have just sat down on a very cold Saturday morning and watched a movie.
Yeah. Not normally how I start a Saturday morning.
It's not really a morning thing, really, watching a movie.
No. Certainly not watching this movie.
No. Barrel of laughs that it is. No, we just sat down and watched Evangelion 1.11. You cannot advance. You are not alone. Sorry, you cannot advance is the next one. I say it weird because there are parentheses in the middle of it. Like, who knows what this means? The first movie in the Rebuild of Evangelion 4-movie cycle.
Exactly, and we chose to watch this one now because it sums up the first 6 episodes. Of course, the last 6 episodes of the show that we have just finished watching. So we wanted to do a direct comparison between those 6 of the TV show combined or against the rebuild and how it approaches things differently.
And if you're confused, then, well, this is the right podcast for you, I feel.
Absolutely.
Clearly you're a fan of Evangelion if you're confused. I'm John, by the way.
And I'm Nick.
And this is what we do. We sit down and we rewatch Evangelion. This
is all we do.
With kind of fresh eyes, untarnished by childhood nostalgia. Yeah, we're trying anyway.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there is nostalgia. Like, we still like it despite everything.
I think it's been a weird ride so far.
Yeah,
I think if you've listened to our previous episodes, you would realise that we found our reactions to it in the cold light of day have been quite different to how we expected.
Yeah, surprisingly so. But then equally, some of the best moments have been like better even. Like, I've appreciated the good bits more than I think I did back in the day. And I have, whereas I sort of ignored the bad bits or let them sort of slide away, now they're worse.
Yeah.
In the cold
it's like
light
some
of day.
stuff just doesn't fly anymore.
It really doesn't.
For crying out loud, you can't.
Yeah, it's like, we've got to go through this. Okay.
So is it worth, before we do our usual thing of diving into the plot, which will probably go a little bit quicker than some of our
Well, I think we'll
ones.
probably talk a little bit more sort of scene by scene rather than like literally each happening as we go through, because it's obviously a hell of a lot longer.
No, that's a really good point. But also it is it's a retelling of everything we've just seen.
So we don't want to go through everything that you've already listened to.
So maybe we'll kind of do a vague outline of the plot, which you should already know, and we'll talk about where it's different and where it's the same and what they've changed or improved or made worse.
Exactly.
Anything like that.
And talk in general terms about some of the things that we've seen.
But as a little, because this is a milestone episode for us, we've reached the first safe...
Everyone said we wouldn't do it, John!
we reached the first inn on the road towards madness.
Yeah.
So I guess like Evangelion's movie history has been very confusing, which I think is fitting given the confusing nature of the series.
Yeah.
But correct me if I'm wrong, the original series was, I think, 24 episodes long.
Yeah.
They kind of ran out of money towards the end.
Clearly.
And then I think episodes 25 and 26 were a rather pared down version of the ending Hideaki Anno always wanted to tell.
Yeah.
Because they just ran out of money.
It ended up being almost like a clip show crossed with almost half talking head / psychological profile thing.
And weirdly, I've never seen those episodes.
Have you not?
No, because I went straight to End of Evangelion, which was the first movie which was a direct retelling of the last 2 episodes of the series.
Correct, yeah.
But done on the budget. But I get the impression that, like, Anno is... He's a bit like George Lucas. Like, he'll constantly be retelling the same story and he'll never quite get it how he wanted it.
Yeah.
Or maybe he did, but then he's just never happy with it.
Well, that's because Death and Rebirth is the retelling of the entire series, isn't it?
That's another movie thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, the sequence of releases was the entire show, 24 episodes, then Death and Rebirth, then End of Evangelion, and then into Rebuild.
Oh, so Death and Rebirth came...
Well, Death and Rebirth at least is set before End of Evangelion. I don't know whether it came out as a movie before. I might have to check my facts on that.
So I've not seen Death and Rebirth either.
Neither have I, but the only reason I haven't seen that is because I've been told that I don't need to. That will be something we watch in this podcast and talk about, I think.
I mean, I guess we'll get there, but my understanding was they didn't record new stuff. They just kind of recut.
It's like the ultimate clip show, and basically what again only what I've told. So when we get to this point, we'll explore it along with those of you who are listening and who know, and those of you who are listening and who don't know. But from what I was told by a friend who was into a lot of anime, as I was when we were kids, you don't need to watch Death and Rebirth if you've watched the show, because all they do is cut it quite harshly, apparently, into a feature film.
Right.
Yeah.
And is it the whole series?
Yeah.
Wow.
Apparently, yeah.
Because we just watched a feature-length movie,
I know.
which was 6 episodes, kind of crammed into one.
I mean, I don't even know how you go about doing that. Or I don't know whether Death and Rebirth are 2 films on the one disc. I don't know. You know, this is actually a little bit of a mystery to me. So, all I ever knew was that whether it is a recut, 2 films, whatever, I didn't need to see it because the story had been told to me already.
I've heard that as well. Like, the general consensus is it's not amazing.
But we should watch it.
Yeah, for completion's sake, we absolutely should. So then years pass, and then it is announced that
the Rebuild's coming.
The Rebuild is coming.
Yeah.
And it's going to be 4 movies, retelling. 4 is such an odd number. It's going to be 4 movies, and our understanding was it was going to retell the original series.
Yeah.
But in a cinematic capacity.
Yes, and I remember getting very excited about this when this was announced.
With, they were going to reanimate original scenes.
They were going to go back to like animatics and storyboards and everything. So things wouldn't change in terms of how they were shot, the angles of shooting, stuff like that. But they would redraw it, re-background it, and in some cases add new scenes in.
Yeah.
And in other cases take the original storyboard action but actually CGI it. So a lot of the angels and the Avas themselves are now CGI models rather than 2D animated.
It was kind of like it was going to be like the definitive edition kind of thing. Like,
well, yeah, this was what I thought, and this is what I was dreaming.
It's what we were led to believe.
Yeah,
yeah,
and certainly, as we'll go into in this discussion, when you watch 1.11, it feels like that's the path he's taking.
Yeah,
it's like this is exactly the same story, but actually told slightly better.
Yes,
you know, and sort of streamlined in a few places. Some unnecessary guff is taken out.
A lot of guff,
and a couple of extra scenes.
That's a little Evangelion reference.
A couple of extra scenes are added in to actually clarify some things as well.
Yes.
But that was really not what Hideaki Anno's plan was all about, was it?
Because we'll cover this in greater detail later in the series when we get to 2.22.
Yes.
But it very quickly, the kind of parity between the new movies and the series very quickly breaks down.
Very quickly. I mean, it actually happens in this film.
Because 6 episodes in, we were like, okay, we've now seen everything that made up the first movie, so it is a perfect time to watch 1.11.
Exactly.
And do a comparison. But it's already harder with 2.22. In fact, impossible, I would probably say.
Yes, I don't know what we're going to do when it comes to that
because
point.
It goes from like episode 7 pretty much to the end of the original series.
It's skipping a lot.
Skips a hell of a lot.
Yeah.
Keeps some key scenes, but I mean, there were like 16 angels in the original series, give or take, and in the movies, I think we only see like ultimately 6 or something like that. Like it really pares it down, and adds a new one. Adds several new. I know for a fact the next movie opens with a fight against an angel, which was never in the original series.
Yeah, that pendulum one.
So, which has fans have called Clockiel.
Because it doesn't have a name in the actual continuity.
No, because it looks a bit like a clock.
It does, yeah.
So we're just giving it a random name.
I quite like it, though.
So we're in kind of safe territory at the moment, but things very quickly go off the rails.
Yeah.
So at some point we'll watch 2.22.
Yep.
Which is an adaptation of the rest of the series, a very loose one.
I mean, what we could do, without getting into planning while on a podcast, but we could watch up until Ribbon Arms.
Yes, all Ribbon Arms.
In the series, and then we could go to 2.22, because that's the final angel of 2.22.
Because then we get into really weird territory.
Yeah, exactly.
Because 3.33 is just completely off the rails.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. Same, different planet.
It's an entirely new story, and a lot of fan speculation as to what it means for the whole series and where it fits in, and for, well, who knows when that'll be made.
And what it's going to be about.
Like, Anno doesn't appear to be in a massive hurry to make 4.44.
No, I mean, he's got distracted by making Godzilla for a bit. So
it's like, and after he's done with 4.44, will he even be happy?
I get the feeling no.
Will he go back and do it all again?
He's got the Lucas gene.
I mean, one thing a theory I immediately thought going into 1.11 was that, and we discussed this off air, but the idea that like it wasn't a retelling. Like that kind of time.
When you first heard about it,
I thought that time had kind of recycled or something, and like the characters were going through these events again. But then I had this weird random notion that people would start realizing that they were doing this all again.
Because it's funny because you basically had that idea earlier than I did. Because when I started watching 2.22 and the new Ava pilot appears and all that stuff that we'll eventually talk about when we get there, I was like, this is a retelling of time or a parallel timeline or something like that, and they're going to make reference to the fact that this has happened before, but something has changed this time. But they don't, obviously. No. But yeah, so I thought that going into 2.22, not going into 1.11.
And I don't know. I mean, there are times where you think you're on the money, and then then something completely changes, and then it just goes completely random, and it almost becomes meaningless to try and predict what will happen in this series at this point. And we've talked about this in other episodes as well, but we're coming to the notion that like we like it kind of in like despite what it is, rather than
its mistakes. I mean, at the end of the day, they are. I think they're misfootings, aren't they? In a lot of cases. But yes,
it's really odd, isn't it? Because it's like maybe this is Hideaki Anno's problem. It's kind of like we can see the shape of what we love in this, but it's kind of buried. Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to kind of draw it out and show it off to people. And I'm not going to
expect other people to just love it in the same way that I do. You know, it's like I don't know. I've got my own reasons for liking aspects of it, aspects which number to beyond 50% of it.
Yeah,
but I wouldn't just turn around and go, Evangelion's a classic and you have to love it if you love anime, and that's the end of it, because I can understand.
No, I think, as we said, like episode 4 was just appalling. Just really impenetrable and not great. But I mean, kind of segueing into 1.11, I would say that this is a lot more accessible.
Oh, definitely, yeah. And someone can pick this up from start.
Yeah, I would happily show this to someone as a here's Evangelion.
And to be honest, I probably would do. Yeah, because as we're going to go into and talk about our opinions of this, certainly the first 6 episodes are something of an up and down, roller coaster ride in terms of quality. That the film isn't. The film's quality remains pretty consistent, and I would say high as well, or at least higher. And so therefore, if I was ever going to try and introduce someone to Evangelion or show someone what Evangelion was, I'd probably show them this.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, entirely. And I think, as we'll get into it, I think cutting out a lot of the unnecessary stuff along the way. It's leaner.
Yeah.
A lot less waffling and detritus. It's a leaner, smarter, more efficient machine.
Yeah.
And I think the character motivations actually seem a bit more solid.
Yeah, they're clearer, they make sense, and they have an arc.
Yeah. It's a bit less kind of navel-gazing and a bit more kind of, look, this is just what's happening.
Yeah.
And off we go.
Yeah.
Well, look, should we dive in?
Yeah.
Okay, so, I mean, this is a bit weird in a way, but it starts exactly as you'd expect.
Yeah, but with one major difference.
One major difference.
Red water.
Red water.
So all the seas, it would seem, except for lakes,
which
of course aren't seas, so that's why I said that. All the major seas and all over the world, it would seem, are red now.
Yeah, so it's not explained in the movie.
No.
But the explanation is simply that after Second Impact, this terrible event where we're told half of humanity was wiped out, the oceans all turned blood red.
Yeah.
And I think we find out in the next movie that there's no sea life.
Yes, that's
anymore.
right. The only sea life that they have saved are those that were grabbed at the time or have been grown since.
Yeah.
And are stored in freshwater tanks.
Yeah.
And there are huge marine.
It's like an aquarium with blue whales in it.
Exactly.
Not in this movie, but in the next movie.
Yeah. Which is a weird scene in itself. But anyway, yes.
So it's like. And I think one thing I will immediately praise the movie for, it actually seems post-apocalyptic.
Yes, because of course the opening shot, as is the case for the series, is Shinji on this public telephone trying to call through to who he needs to get picked up.
Yeah, he's just arrived in a new city and he's waiting for a lift.
And although in the show the street is abandoned, the city is relatively intact. It could just be a quiet street.
It just looks empty.
Yeah, exactly. But in this, it's an overgrown, post-apocalyptic, burnt-out cars. It looks like something from The Last of Us.
Yeah. Like, it's not like pits of gaping fire or anything like that, but it's just...
No, it's just overgrown.
Yeah, like nature has reclaimed it.
Like no one's lived here for 10 years.
We see like a shot of like a red ocean, usual opening, like there's giant military vehicles waiting for something.
Yeah.
But we see like a hillside with ruined buildings, like really like blasted, irradiated buildings.
Yeah.
And a giant chalk outline of a
Yes.
humanoid, like on the side of the,
Obviously, giant size, like on the side of a mountain.
like a kind of like a crime scene kind of thing. Like a.
Yes. Now, what's that?
That's actually a really good point. I have no idea.
I mean, we know it's not an Ava because none of them have been combat tested yet.
Yeah.
We also know that this city is either an outskirt to Tokyo 3 City or an entirely different city altogether.
Because when we do see Tokyo 3,
Yeah.
that's obviously fine and clean and modern, and
Yeah.
this is a city which has been abandoned.
And Sachiel is on his way
yes.
to Tokyo 3. And so we can, and as obviously in this scene, Sachiel appears from behind the mountain in the classic way and is very close to Shinji.
Yeah.
But is still, and he has to head over a whole, like, unpopulated, mountainous sort of forest region before he gets even close to Tokyo 3. And then eventually, when he does fight Unit 1, it's at night. So he's taken an entire day to get there.
That's a very good point, actually. And but essentially, aside from those details, which we both immediately picked up on and we both really loved.
Yeah.
And this is going to be a recurring theme throughout this movie, where any questions we had, where we were like, that doesn't make a lot of sense, or what's going on here?
The movie seems to have done something about.
And sometimes it's just a throwaway line or like a little scene, but they have inserted these bits which just make a bit more sense. And it's interesting, we picked up on stuff in the original series, like what's going on in the main world, and like it doesn't look that bad, even though it's been an apocalypse,
like a post-apocalyptic event.
But then, it seems a bit more real. But hey, but then Sakiel, giant angel, appears.
Comes from behind the mountain.
The military are attacking him. Usual
boom,
thing.
boom.
So this is all very similar so far. The animation is a lot slicker.
Yes,
obviously.
definitely. And also, Sachiel ends up very close to Shinji. Like his foot lands in the street next to him, which I'm pretty sure does not happen in the original TV show.
And you said kind of brings Shinji into the action more.
And first hand. Oh, these are big creatures. Wow.
But it's all so far, so familiar.
Yeah.
Misato turns up
in a blue sports car,
rescues him. They race away.
Yeah.
It's almost entirely exactly as before.
Absolutely.
A lot slicker, a lot, crisper. They drop an N2 mine on him.
Yeah. The military do that, and they think they've won as it goes last time. But then the image clears up, and they haven't killed it. And this time we see it sort of having wounds growing all over it. I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure we have those gills bit in the
you see like
TV
it's
show.
kind of like it's almost breathing or something.
Sort of bellows thing.
Now I've spent a lot of time before tail end of last year. I spent a lot of time reading the EVA wiki fan community. So I feel like I've absorbed purely through osmosis like a lot of the general fan community theories and knowledge about everything now.
Sure.
As we've said, one of the big problems is a lot of this is never, ever stated directly in the series.
No.
In fact, it would seem that most of it was picked up from show notes, interviews with Anno, even a couple of the PS2 games, which only came out in Japan.
Yep.
Which were practically like dating simulators. It was basically like
one of them was called My Girlfriend of Steel. Or something. Yeah.
Like very little Evangelion in it.
Yeah.
But if you read if you complete the game, you get like little fact files and they reveal stuff about
and it's
the
all
series.
canon apparently.
Yeah, and it's all canon.
And there was also apparently, I think I've talked about this on the show before, but there was a book that was given to people for the cinematic release of Death and Rebirth.
Oh, Death and
I
Rebirth.
believe, which is called like the Red Book or something, and that has a lot of external notes. Never been translated, never been published, never been released to anyone other than those who had it at the cinema. And they have since put scans online, and there have been translations, but again, fan translations, and a lot of stuff has been gleaned, I think, from that as well. But not everything.
Well, the reason I bring it up is I think the Angels have had some of the most attention in the remake.
Yes.
And it's like, I know you get odd things where you'll see like a familiar angel, but the thing that's different now is that it has like a mask.
Yeah.
Because a couple of the angels used to have like a kind of like a bird, like a white kind of bird-like mask, or sometimes just like a white disc with two kind of
sort of hollow eyes. Yeah.
I think they've done some work in the movie to kind of suggest that while the angels are all incredibly diverse of form and no two look the same, maybe like inside them
there's a unification.
Is something a bit more familiar.
Yeah, yeah.
Because like Sachiel is the first one we see with the mask, and in fact two masks, because of course after it's injured with the N2 mine, its face kind of like
sort of breaks away.
And a second face kind of comes out.
With a stubbier beak.
Yeah.
It doesn't have the same length of beak.
So the angels are even more alien than before, if indeed that's possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't think of much that diverges at this point. Like,
no, not at this point. Other than obviously, we see these sort of wounds boil up, and Gendo makes some comment about its rejuvenation abilities. It's incredible.
Because it's a movie, it's like there's a lot more exposition.
There's a different logic being deployed for the narrative, and I wonder whether it's because in the show it was kind of like Hideaki Anno's word is law, and that's that. Whereas now there's a big budget, there are potentially shareholders, production companies, all sorts of other stuff. There are some other people involved, and they have maybe said things like that's not clear, that needs to be clarified. I don't know, but certainly these little points of clarification that we noticed all the way through this film that the show was completely lacking. Must have come from somewhere, and I find it hard to believe that Anno would feel the need to put them in himself.
Yeah.
So that seems like editing to me.
You sometimes wonder whether it was intentional going in, or whether like a focus group kind of looked at it.
Yeah.
Because it seems like the kind of thing a good producer would point out.
Absolutely.
Like a producer doing the right thing might say, why isn't this angel dead?
Yeah.
You need to align.
And big production companies who are backing this film with money who are like, this has to make sense.
Yeah.
Because we're putting money into this, and that's where the pressure lies. But then, saying that, 2.22 flies off the rails. So, maybe there's no truth in that. Maybe he did.
He was like, I'll do a conventional movie.
Yeah, and then I'll do what I want.
When your back's turned, I'll leap in.
But yeah, so the whole first sequence, other than being gloriously better animated and visually richer and deeper, the whole Shinji going into the geofront and discovering that for the first time is glorious.
Well, actually, I think I can't remember how different it is, but it felt like a better scene.
Yeah.
Because obviously they bomb Sachiel, exactly like in the series. Sachiel survives. Shinji flees with Misato, and they go to the geofront.
Yeah.
But there is a line in the car.
Yeah.
Because she says, don't you have questions about what that giant thing was? And that was like a big problem of ours, where we were like,
he just didn't question
no one ever questions it.
Yeah.
Because it's actually established in the series. This has never happened. Like, the public has no idea.
There's never been a giant monster attack.
No.
Like, never.
It's not like a thing.
No.
That happens every day. I mean, it does from that point on, but that's the first time ever.
Exactly.
And they're going to the geofront, and I think they take a bit more time to kind of drink in the wonder of this incredible structure.
Yeah.
Shinji almost seems excited.
He does.
For a minute. He's like, wow, this is incredible.
I think he does do that in the original, though, because I think there's a lot of talk about the geofront. That's a known thing.
I think they were very proud of the animation work they've done on the geofront now.
Yeah.
Like, the NERV facilities seem even bigger and more cavernous than before, and just these incredible robotic cold corridors and stuff, and everyone's moving in the most ridiculous manner, be it on an escalator or like a little ski lift at one point.
Yeah, ski lift at one point, yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, that is cool.
But then the guilt trip is exactly the same.
Yeah, pretty much played beat for beat in every single way. And he's forced to pilot for the first time.
Yeah.
In that way, and that doesn't change. But of course, I think when we were watching the TV show, we were hoping for a resolution of his arc in the term of his motivation. So at first he's forced into it by his dad, but we hope that he rises up and takes the mantle of a hero willingly, of course, because that's the classic hero's journey story, isn't it? And as we'll go on to say, this starting point of him, his dad forcing him to pilot the Ava, is played exactly the same, but is a really good start to the story now because of how it ends up resolving, which I think is really, really good.
Shinji's, I think, comes across as a bit more of a decisive character.
Yeah,
like he still obviously has his Shinji problems.
Yeah,
but I think he takes action a bit more.
He does. Yeah. And like even little things like how his loneliness, his decision to be lonely is handled. Like in the TV show, there's this real sense of he's lonely and he likes being alone. He likes being separate of people, but he's also pathetic. And the whole show is framed around, yes, he wants to be lonely, but that's a bad thing because he's a little bit of a berg, Whereas in this one, it's like he decides to be lonely. He goes off and he goes somewhere and he goes on his own and he does it because he wants to be.
Yeah.
And there's a real sense of now there not being negative connotations around that this time, and that now he's like he can be lonely if he wants to be because he's Shinji, all right?
Because we went in thinking just to the series in general, we went in thinking that we'd be picking on Shinji.
Yeah.
And we actually found ourselves sympathising a lot
Yeah.
with him. We thought he's actually acting like a human being would. But the series presents him in such a negative light.
Definitely.
That his seemingly very rational responses are like, Shinji.
Typical Shinji.
Shinji.
Oh,
Less of that in the movie.
definitely.
A lot less of that in the movie. And it'd be interesting to think like how much of that was intentional. Or Anno's decision, or more maybe like external influences. I don't know. Maybe like after however many years it took between the movies, he kind of, I don't know, mellowed to it or looked at it again and thought,
Maybe.
kind of treated him a bit unfairly, perhaps.
Maybe.
Still doesn't excuse the... Now, we've talked about this, but like, they massively guilt Shinji into piloting EVA Unit 1.
Yeah.
But he's like, look, I'll do it. You can't put this critically injured girl in. Like, she's bleeding everywhere.
Yeah.
I will do it. And he's like, great. That's a very heroic thing that Shinji does. It still doesn't excuse the impossible logic of putting an untrained 14-year-old who only found out about this like 2 minutes ago
Yeah.
in the most powerful weapon alive to fight an alien monster.
The greatest menace that the humanity's ever faced.
Bearing in mind, he can't drive a car.
Yeah.
He has never piloted anything.
There is nothing to say he won't completely screw this up.
He has no idea even how to control this.
Yeah.
So we talked about how daft this is because they launch him, and of course Unit 1 joins the battle,
Yep.
and the first instruction is just focus on walking
Yeah.
for now. Like, just try and move
Give
the
it your
legs.
best.
Just move the legs a little bit. And then he falls over.
Yeah.
Everyone goes, Shinji, get up. It's like,
Ah!
for crying out loud, you know.
You're useless. But the thing is, this is it. Like he's in a life or death situation. He's looking down a street. A mile away is a huge creature that they don't even know for sure that EVA Unit 1 can defeat. And they go, just focus on walking. You know,
Yeah.
it's this idea that if they were so desperate, they would put a completely untrained 14-year-old boy into the most powerful weapon humanity has ever made. If they were that desperate, they'd just go, just do a thing,
Yeah.
just fight it, because we're so desperate and scared that you've got to win.
That's
You know?
the only way that makes sense.
Yeah.
And we were saying, like, wouldn't it be great if there was just one line
Yeah.
where someone had gone, I can't believe we're putting
This is crazy.
an untrained 14-year-old boy in this weapon. And they said, what choice do we have?
Yeah, and someone pulls their hair out, you know, and that's that.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the throwaway line that makes it all seem not as crazy.
Yeah.
Because we do crazy stuff when the stakes are high.
And it's like, this is the most desperate situation that humanity has ever faced.
Yeah.
And he is a perfect pilot. Like, in the sense, no, he is the perfect, like, you know, no other human being could synchronize with this
He's the
machine.
only one.
Yeah. But we were wondering whether, like, in any other anime, he would immediately display some kind of, like, innate, incredible piloting ability.
Yeah.
And they go like, oh my god, he's better than even our top-trained pilots.
Yeah,
You know?
and I think as you rightly pointed out when you were watching it, that was the trope that Hideaki Anno was trying to subvert. I think was this idea that no, you wouldn't be good if you just got dropped into it.
Yeah.
But then equally, therefore, that raises questions of its own. Like if you are admitting Anno that he wouldn't be good at piloting it, then why is he? And so the desperation has to be the excuse for that. And I think there is enough of a sense of desperation. But for then Ritsuko to go, just try walking, as though he was now just in a tutorial and trying to mollycoddle him through it is really out of...
It's okay
tone.
to have this kind of stuff, because we can think of explanations for it.
Yeah.
We just need to know that the characters in this universe are aware. Like, it's okay to have ridiculous things
Of
in a
course it is.
story.
Yeah.
You just need a couple of characters to acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, it makes everyone seem insane.
Yeah.
Like, everyone thinks like this is the most rational decision in the world, when any adult would go, this is ridiculous. I think most children would go, this is ridiculous as well.
Yeah, exactly.
But, you know,
It works out, doesn't it?
Yeah, usual happens.
It works out in the end.
He kind of gets his ass handed to him. EVA Unit 1 gets stabbed through the head. And Shinji's connection to it breaks. And the EVA goes into berserk mode.
Yeah.
Just in like the original series. And it, brutally kills.
Dispatches Sachiel, and Sachiel detonates himself, and the smoke clears, and there is Unit 1 striding confidently out of the mess.
So some different things here. One, a subtle thing, but I think the colouring on Unit 1 is very different in the fight.
Yes.
It's an artistic thing.
There's there's a sense of glow-in-the-dark luminosity.
Has that these amazing green neon patches on it, which are fantastic. Also, in the original series, that was split between two episodes.
It was, yes.
So the battle started, and then it cut,
Yeah.
and then we had like a,
And it doesn't at all in this, obviously.
and it flows better.
It does, definitely.
Yeah.
Because I think that was a mistake in the show, to be honest. Also, something I didn't mention while we were watching it, but you may have noticed as well, how Unit 1 repairs its arm is not by pulling bits of Satchel off and putting them onto itself, which it does in the show, but it just grows it back.
As not to disagree, but isn't that what happens with Ribbon Arms much later in the series?
Oh, am I thinking of
Gets
that?
his arm cut off, and then he rips one of the arms off and sticks it
You might be right.
on.
But certainly, when Unit 1 heals in the show, I don't think he gets the armour back.
No,
It's just an exposed human arm, isn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah. Whereas the armour grows back somehow in this one.
and the animation is
But it looks
grotesque
great.
and beautiful. Like
yeah,
it, you know,
bubbly.
Another thing that occurred to me is like after that battle in the series, doesn't the Eva's like mask come off, and it looks in the reflective side of a building, or am I thinking of a different?
That might be then.
Because isn't that like in the series, like Shinji's lying in bed thinking about it afterwards,
Yeah.
and you have that flashback to he sees the horrible face of the
With
Eva.
the weird eye.
Yeah, and it kind of.
I think it is because, of course, the whole point is that Satchiel wraps himself around Unit 1 and then detonates. So he would have blown loads of the
Takes
armour
damage.
off, wouldn't it?
That doesn't happen.
No.
No.
Well, at least we don't see it anyway.
No.
But we don't need to. This is an example of where it's got leaner and it's got cut a little
Yeah.
bit. And because it's not a TV show now, they've got less time.
But that's the opening. That's like the first act of the movie.
Basically, yeah.
And then we get what we thought of as a lull in the TV series. We enter that period.
But this is the moving in with Masato period, isn't it?
Oh, God.
As I like to call it.
Wow.
But there are some changes here.
Yes.
And there are two very significant ones. And the first is the convenience store conversation. Because we see them go to the shop to buy stuff for Masato and him to eat.
Mostly beer.
Mostly beer.
Beer.
And we hear the clerk. How do you say that word? Convenience store clerk. Is it clerk? Yeah.
I say clerk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's an American word, isn't it?
Yeah.
You hear her talking, sort of, kind of talking to Masato, but Masato obviously isn't listening. It's just sort of background gumph. But she's saying something along the lines of the calls for evacuation, people leaving Tokyo 3.
She's just like, just thinking about that incident yesterday gives me the willies.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And I think I might leave and move in with my aunt who lives, 3 cities away or whatever. And there's this, for the first, because one of the big things we had a go at it about was we don't see things from the public perspective. We don't have any idea what the public think about what's going on, and why haven't they all left in droves from Tokyo 3?
Yeah, why would you live in Tokyo 3?
I mean, I understand not everyone can evacuate. If your home's there, you don't have the money, you don't have a car, whatever, you can't go. You simply can't, and you have to make the best of it. But it did seem that we never got that story. It would be great to have just one episode which was told from the public's perspective, and we never got that.
I wonder, and again, it's another thing the series just never tells us, but we saw like a ruined city where Shinji was picked up.
That's right, yeah.
And I wonder whether a couple of lines of dialogue could have said something like maybe there are less cities anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, we see like some rural areas.
So there's nowhere else for them to go.
But if this post-apocalyptic event had hit, not every city would be able to survive.
No.
And like if you lived in a more rural area, you might be fine.
Yeah.
But we see like a cutaway later in the show to what must be other cities.
Yeah.
Like when they're announcing the power blackout.
That's true, yes. And they're much busier.
Yeah.
Much busier.
But it's like Tokyo 3 is described as being a fortified city.
Yeah.
And maybe like it's probably the most futuristic city in Tokyo. In Japan, sorry. And maybe like that's the draw of living there.
Maybe.
And an angel has never attacked before.
It's funny, like people actually flock to the place that they don't realise is actually going to end up being the battleground.
The question is, why even have humans living there?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. It's like my age-old question of why anyone was on board the Enterprise in Star Trek. Like, you're going out to bold new places and you've got all your family and everyone like, living on board the ship.
That's company.
Ah, well, okay.
Surely that's it, yeah. If you're going to be miserable on the other side of the universe, you might as well take your family with you as well.
But everyone could die.
Yeah. Yeah, but no, it doesn't make a lot of sense, actually. But
anyway.
But yeah, so there's a line of dialogue which kind of hints at there is a world outside of NERV.
Yeah,
we never see.
Which is nice.
And then they enter the apartment, and that's almost a shot for shot.
Until...
It's a bit... Well, it's a bit of an odd... It was always a jarring change of tone.
Yeah.
Anyway, but
and we've talked at length about this scene.
But we get the exact same... We were watching it thinking, oh, it's coming... Oh,
that bit of animation.
Here it comes.
Where Masato has a drink from a
then
can.
Masato just slamming back a beer, and it is... still jarring. It's still
weird,
and like everything you decided to include.
And it's so funny because I think that scene has gone down as I think we talked about it before as an iconic Evangelion scene.
Yeah,
but it's not good.
No, it's certainly not good. I wonder if there would have been an outcry if they cut it.
Yeah.
Like, fans demand.
I've got to say, when I first watched it, I was expecting it. And not because I was younger and less sort of analytical, I suppose. I wasn't expecting it in a negative way. I was going, I bet they're going to do that again.
I think this is a fan servicey kind of scene on many levels. But
on many levels, yeah.
They have the same music, which just seems... It's just so out of place. And like, Pen, the little penguin,
has his little freezer moment.
Lives in a freezer, reads
I'm
a
sure
newspaper.
we see a little bit more of his little freezer house.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, because you see his TV.
He's reading a newspaper, watching television
with his feet crossed.
It's like,
how is he reading?
It's like you're watching. Am I having a stroke or something? Like, is this happening? There's a penguin.
We've just gone from a massive, high stakes end of humanity battle to this.
So, genetically engineered pet penguin.
Yeah. In a freezer.
But then there's this one line of dialogue which is subtly different, where after all these wacky hijinks...
And mostly Misato just saying loads of really happy things like, hey, isn't these the times we love living for? And
you're a boy, aren't you?
Yeah.
Look sharp. The most strangest line of dialogue in the movie.
You're a boy, aren't you? Look sharp. I mean, what? Anyway.
I think that was a mistranslation thing. I think it was meant to be like, I'm a sexy woman, why aren't you...
more happy that you're living with me?
Yeah, I don't know, it was weird.
Anyway, then, you go for it.
Yeah, sorry, and she says this line of dialogue, I wonder if he sees through my happy act or something.
Maybe I've been too happy and he sees through it. Yeah, and it suddenly suggests that everything that we've always seen in that scene was Misato putting on a brave face.
And that's lampshading. I think that's 20 years of feedback and people talking about how daft that scene is.
I think you're right.
And just one line of dialogue. Just to say, maybe I'm acting a bit too silly. Looks at camera. Winks. Or am I? Wink.
Fourth wall, where are you when we need you? Yeah, and that was the first moment that you mentioned. I think that's lampshading. And then subsequently to that, we've seen a lot of that throughout the film, where there's obvious elastoplasts being stuck over holes in the original story. But this is good, in a way. Like, as much as that is a little bit... Like, we want to have that whole scene, which was really jarring and out of tone, but then what we'll do is we'll just have a phrase at the end to just excuse it. Like, rather than that, why not rewrite the scene? That's what I would have done. But the later lampshading is maybe a little bit better done, clearer done. And I don't know if I can think of any examples, but... But
then, as an example of stuff being cut, there is a sudden scene change to Shinji getting punched in the face.
Yes, really abrupt. Like, just that's how that scene ends. It's just like, bam, punch in the face.
So we're at school, but it's cut all the establishing stuff about Shinji going to school,
being in
the
classroom.
Because frankly, it was always a bit superfluous. It didn't really add a massive amount, and like no one cares about the class rep.
No,
we don't need to establish that character or
anything
like
at all.
that. No,
even though she is still in the movie.
It still strikes me so odd that they send them to school.
Yeah.
Like, it's really odd. But mind you, of course, the school is controlled by the government and everything like that, so...
But again, there's a line. Because post that whole scene with him being punched in the face, you then cut to Misato and Ritsuko talking.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And Ritsuko says something to the effect of... no, Misato says he was punched at school, and Ritsuko goes, oh, was it serious? Sort of thing. And Misato goes, no, because the surveillance agents didn't step in.
Yeah.
And this plays into... Because I'm pretty sure we spent an entire episode of this show talking
length,
about why someone didn't just wheel Toji away and we never saw it.
Yeah, Toji is never seen again. Toji is dragged into a black van.
Yeah. And, who knows what happens to him.
Yeah.
But actually, it turns out, just through a line of dialogue, which is actually all it needed, hilariously... it is revealed that there are surveillance agents watching him at all times.
Because you would.
Yeah.
Because he's the most valuable asset this world has.
And yes, of course, there is that episode, before we get the rage, which I'm sure we won't get. But there is that episode in the show where he runs away.
Yeah.
And he ends up in a tent with Kensuke in a field. And the agents show up.
Yes.
But just because they show up there doesn't mean we're meant to assume that they're always there. You need dialogue. We need to be told that in the story. And we were in this. So that's an improvement.
It does, I don't know, we always had some issues with, I guess, the efficiency of NERV and the way NERV operated. Like,
I mean, it's still bad.
It seems to be run by, madmen, which it is, I suppose.
Yeah,
but...
the fact that they let him go to school at all is weird.
Yeah.
The fact that they aren't really, really obvious in their presence is weird. The fact that Rei lives in that absolute hovel is weird. All this kind of stuff. But anyway.
Aside from cutting a lot of the unnecessary souls wandering around and staring at stuff, we then progress in a pretty... one-for-one familiar fashion. The only difference is The next angel attacks.
Yes.
The weird crab
Lobster.
Shamshell. I
yeah.
think I get the names confused.
No, I think it is.
But they say Seeley, the evil, sinister monolith organization, go, we have to prepare for becoming of a fifth angel.
Yes.
Now, our immediate thinking was, because Sakiel was the third,
Yeah.
and supposedly the first human to ever angel to ever come and attack humanity.
Yes.
So when they say we have to prepare for the fifth, we were like,
They're jumping ahead to the Crystal Angel.
because that's a particularly powerful one.
Yeah.
But no, because Shamshell turns up,
And that is the fifth.
and when Ramiel turns up, it actually says on the screen, sixth angel.
angel.
So the numbering of the angels has changed
Yes.
for the new movie.
Yeah.
So there's an additional angel somewhere.
Somewhere in the mix. And we think we know who
Yeah.
that is. Because of the end of this film.
Yeah, so
which we'll
we'll-
go into when we get there.
But great big lobster angel attacks.
Yep.
Big differences being it now has a tiny little white mask on top of it.
Yes.
Almost blinking you miss it.
Yeah.
And it has CGI.
I think it's
kind
all
of
CG.
wobbly
actually. Yeah,
legs,
little
and stuff.
limbs thing.
But usual happens.
Yeah.
It attacks. Shinji goes to fight it. He's got this kind of, I'm just going to blindly follow orders and I won't think or do anything. So the battle goes badly.
Toji and Kensuke enter the cockpit.
Into the cockpit. And
He's told to leave the battle, but he doesn't. He fights on. The only major difference is when because obviously he's stabbing the core with the progressive knife, and he wins and it breaks. That shot ended with a panning back of the silhouetted figures of Unit 1 without any power and the dead angel just sort of frozen in locked combat, and they were both dead. And that was quite a cool moment. But because they've decided to change the angel's deaths in the movie to just dissolving into blood,
yeah.
it's now the same shot panning back with Unit 1 frozen in this like final position, but the angel's gone.
I wonder whether this was like him trying to address an inconsistency. Because like some of the angels melted, others, their corpses
Burst
just kind of
into flames.
stuck around, that kind of thing.
But there were whole sections in the anime where they investigate chopping it up and like researching it.
That's kind of cool.
They can't do that now, which
so
is weird.
They just utterly liquefy.
Yeah.
Every instinct of them just disappears. It's mad.
It is. So yeah, but other than that, that is exactly the same.
So that kind of like segues into what for us is one of the worst bits in the series.
Yeah.
Where Misato shouts at Shinji. Shinji goes, I'll pilot the Evas. I hate it, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
And she has a go at him and says, no, you must love it.
You must want to do it.
Yeah.
That was not in this.
No, they definitely made that scene better.
And then, because the whole, this was the low point, obviously, as you say, and it was basically bookended by two conversations between Shinji and Misato, and the middle section where he runs away. That happens exactly the same in terms of structure in the film. There's a conversation with Misato, him leaving, and then another conversation. But in the case, rather than running away, he goes for a walk.
Yes.
And it's never inferred that he's leaving NERV, and NERV never worry that he is. And I don't think he is. Even in his head, he isn't leaving. He just wants to clear his head, be alone with his thoughts.
He still spends one night sleeping rough on the streets.
In a cardboard box in an alley.
Because we were always saying, like, where are the security division? You don't let the kid who can save the planet just wander the streets where he could get killed.
But then there's that scene.
Yeah.
At the end of his walk, he reaches a sort of the end of a freeway that's broken, and he just goes, fine, I know you're all there, take me back to Misato, and all these lights go, and it's inferred, therefore, that the entire time he's gone for a walk, the agents have been following him.
Yeah.
Again, lampshaded.
And it was a better scene.
Yeah.
It raises some questions about why NERV would let him sleep rough. But
then Gendo says something, or Fuyutsuki says something to that effect, doesn't he? Saying something like, just let the boy do what he wants to do, or something.
Yeah, it's like they become more of like an omnipresent, like maybe sinister, but like...
And this is it, because you pointed this out while you were watching it, is that in a way, and I'm not sure whether this was intentional, but by NERV having this sort of lackadaisical care attitude towards their most important assets, it makes them seem really sinister. Like they have so much confidence that they're the greatest people. And there's that conversation as well about the destinies of these children is already locked in place. Yeah. There's nothing for us to worry about.
Like, good.
Everything's
I
going
will
to
now
plan.
have him become friends with Rei.
Exactly. It's like everything
They're
is under their
manipulating
control.
him so much.
So you're right. It ended up making them seem more sinister as a result of that.
Well, it's like how conspiracy theorists think the government works.
Yeah.
Because governments are actually incredibly incompetent.
Yeah.
Like, any government screws up all the time.
Yeah.
Like, every little scandal comes out. But if someone goes like, oh yeah, the government, the Illuminati control everything, like this is their plan, like they meant for this to happen. And then you go,
they meant for that
but
information
if they meant
to
for
be
this to happen, why do you get this great big public scandal where like all these people lost their
that's what
jobs?
they wanted.
That
It was
was
distraction.
part of the plan.
Yeah, and conspiracy theorists always operate on this like idea of excusing the things that would so obviously be the thing that would break the plan.
Yeah, as part of it.
Part of the plan.
Yeah.
And it's so convenient then, isn't it? Because that means that nothing can possibly go wrong.
But and that's kind of how NERV come across. Because it's like a government organisation would actually try and run things well.
Yeah.
They might screw up, but they would try and...
They wouldn't let Shinji sleep for a night in an alleyway, because who knows what could happen to him.
But now they are so powerful and so knowing that whatever.
Yeah.
Like maybe there's snipers surrounding him at all times, and if anyone came near him, their heads would just explode.
You say that though, but Toji got a punch in, didn't he?
Toji got a punch in. But that's part of the plan as well, isn't it? That's part of the plan.
Let's have him punched by Toji.
But if he'd punched him
teach
again...
him a lesson. Yeah.
You know, like you get one punch.
Yeah.
Everybody gets one punch of the chosen one. That's it. I don't
Kill
know.
him.
But then he goes, yeah, I'm done. Take me home.
Yeah.
And then he has another scene with Misato.
Yeah. And this is a slightly less positive conversation, but it's again cut and it's leaner. And Misato basically has a go at him, and he says, well, it doesn't matter what I think, does it? Because I'm just going to... my whole life is apparently... I can't go anywhere without being followed by you people. My whole life is piloting the Ava. And she sort of grabs him by the scruff of the neck, sort of, but she doesn't have anything to say because she realises that's true, and he just smiles.
Oh, that was the first scene, though.
Was it?
Wasn't it not? Cause...
No, I thought that was the second one.
But when he came back, wasn't it like they're in that darkened room, and the door opens, and there's like that beam of light or something?
I think that happens.
Oh, I don't know. The two scenes are quite similar.
Well, either way,
yeah.
The result takeaway emotion is that Misato knows that in a way he's right.
Yeah.
And that he does just have to do it, really.
But did she say at one point, like, you can leave if you want? Does she not say like, look, go if you want, we don't care? It's got like that slight guilting element of...
That happens later.
Right, I'm getting confused now. It's
Yeah.
too many kind of like...
Because, yeah.
Too many judgmental moments between the two of them.
There are.
Anyway,
That does happen in the movie, though. That she does say that to him.
Okay, well, like, the long short of it is, as you rightly said, it is less horribly manipulative.
Yes.
Like, it's still negative, but it's not quite as...
But there's this sort of... The takeaway thing is, I think Misato realises, maybe for the first time, because I'm pretty sure she doesn't in the show, oh yeah, we're kind of treating him a bit bad.
Yeah.
And Shinji goes away with, it's all a fait accompli. It doesn't matter what I think or do. And that's a really important sort of middle point for his and Misato's arc, because at first Misato was like, this kid is a screw-up.
Yeah.
Now it's, hold on, are we treating him quite badly? And the resolution, which we'll get to, is quite good for both Misato and Shinji in this film. So this is the middle point of both of their arcs, and it's actually played quite well.
Yeah.
Even though it was the worst point of the show up until now.
Yeah, it's
interesting
weird.
how they turned that around.
Yeah, and yeah, it's this less horrible guilt.
Yeah.
It's a lot better. So what are we missing here? I don't think we are now much, because after the second angel, Shinji leaves for a bit, goes for a walk, comes back, and then I think we're pretty much immediately into Ramiel turning up.
So yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
And literally, suddenly...
Oh, no, sorry, I am missing something. The Rei Shinji encounter in her horrible house.
Oh, we blocked it out, John.
We were hoping it wouldn't be in. We were trying to remember, because I have seen this a few times. I just couldn't remember, but...
Yeah, she needs to be delivered her new ID card, and for some reason that falls to Shinji. This is again a prime example of the administration of NERV. Like, why?
But was that not kind of Misato going?
Oh no, it's
This will
Gendo
make
going.
it-
We'll have her meet.
Of
We'll have him
course.
meet Rei.
Sorry, yeah, it's all coming back now.
So it's funny actually, because in the original show, Gendo never said that line. We'll have him meet Rei. So now they're lampshading a little bit there as well. They want to have that scene again, but they know it doesn't make any sense for Shinji to show up and do NERV's busy work. So Gendo makes it part of the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, whatever that means. Fine.
So Shinji goes to Rei's horrible drug hovel apartment.
It looks even worse now it's in HD.
And again, we've talked about it doesn't make any sense how NERV would act this way, but
No.
that's where she lives.
Hey!
And we were like, oh, they're not going to do the nudity thing again, are they?
And it's probably the only bit in the film that's exactly like the show.
Which is odd.
Yeah.
Like, out of everything they could faithfully recreate.
Because it was little things like, because we'd seen it so recently, I was like, I'd forgotten all the details of how she pushes him up against the dresser
Takes the glasses off.
Takes the glasses off him. At the same time, his satchel catches in it's such a weird sequence of things to happen, so that the result is her naked on the floor and there are pants everywhere. That's the what they really wanted to end this scene. It was so important to them that it ended like this.
So he falls on top of her and
he's got a hand
grabbed
on
her breast, and it's like, this isn't. Yeah, this wasn't good the first time around, and isn't really good this time around.
No.
But the weirdest thing now is that you see her nipple.
Yeah, there's actual nudity this time.
Yeah, like it's like
she's meant to be 14.
She's meant to be 14, and I know that
it's even weirder.
It's not presented in an overly sexual way, but it still shouldn't be shown.
It just shouldn't be there at all
because it doesn't add anything to the story.
No, not at all.
The point of the scene apparently is to show Rei has no sense of self-worth or decency or privacy and doesn't care if people...
There are a million other ways to do that.
There's a lot of different ways.
And we talked extensively about this in the show before, so I don't want to repeat ourselves. But, I mean, there's also meant to be that entire subtext of Shinji's sexual awakening, which I think is unnecessary to the story, to be frank. Like, you can have a character arc without it being sexual. There's no need for that. But it's there nonetheless, and it's presented and storyboarded, and, you know, the tempo of the scene is, I would say, if you played them side by side, they would match flawlessly.
Yeah.
Like it is almost like the gem they wanted to conserve in the midst of everything.
Which is odd.
Yeah.
Because going from that, which we were like, why go to the detail of now adding a nipple?
Yeah.
Like
exactly. And it's not the only time they add them.
No, it's weird. Like the one thing the film was missing.
Yeah.
Odd. And then but it goes into the final act of the movie, which is Ramiel's appearance, and I think we were both like,
yeah.
This is what it was all worth. This because
Ramiel looks amazing.
Ramiel was always my favourite angel.
Yeah,
and now Ramiel has had the most incredible updated look.
Yeah,
because it's like a blue octahedron.
Yeah,
and now it's utterly reflective.
It looks, it's like glossy, and some panels are opaque, but some panels are transparent. It's amazing.
It makes this odd kind of like la,
la
noise as it's kind of moving.
Which is why I'm going to call it she, because I feel like it's female.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, and it turns up. Usual thing. They deploy Unit 1. Immediately gets blasted.
Yeah, dodge! But it's too quick.
Immediately gets blasted with his massive particle cannon, and now Ramiel undergoes the most incredible transformations every time it fires,
like a flower opening,
like just geometric shapes, like an origami, like just folding in and out of itself, and the sound effects are incredible.
Yeah, like you see the core floating in the middle, and it's got no real sense of like body.
Yeah,
because it can fold, and its volume changes dramatically from being hardly anything to much bigger than the original octahedron that it was.
Yeah,
there's no sense of space or volume or mass or anything. It's just whatever it needs to be to fire that weapon, and then it closes up again.
And this time, awesome. They can't retract Shinji because the elevator
gets melted, which doesn't happen in the show. Yeah,
it makes a lot of sense.
And so a shield goes up to defend him, and then
they blow
a whole block of the city up.
Yeah,
so that they blow all the bolts that hold it,
which again
so
is
it
terrifying.
Falls through the floor.
I hate hikes at the best of times, and the knowledge that the city you're living on is suspended on an eggshell.
Yeah, that could be blown at any time.
And at any point you want, they can just press a button and make a city block drop.
And you made the valid point. Why doesn't Ramiel start drilling there?
Yeah.
Because that's just a free open hole down to the geofront down there.
You don't see the hole closed, do you? It's terrifying, Nick.
I guess it must do. I don't think they fall all the way into the geofront.
You'd hope not, because...
But I don't know where they fall to.
I'm fairly certain either Unit 1 would be ruined by falling 50 miles, or however tall it is.
It's a hell of a long way.
So then we're going to the usual thing of...
Shinji has to recover.
Oh, and it starts drilling.
Yes, but its drill is not, because we commented on the drill before in the original show and how it looks like a man-made drill.
Just looks like a drill head coming out the bottom of this alien...
But this time, like, the bottom of the octahedron sort of, like, almost melts into a spiral, and it looks just more of the same blue translucent material that turns into a spiral and starts drilling, and it looks great. It looks
very
way,
good. It looks
better.
Fantastic, actually.
Yeah. And it's these little things that are certainly huge improvements on the show.
They were very proud of this bit, and they should be, actually. And so then we enter this thing where they're like, Shinji is injured, he's being healed, and they go, okay, well, we have like, it's drilling, it's going to penetrate all 22 layers of the geofront by like...
In 9 hours time.
In 9 hours or something like that, you know. So we need a desperate plan. And this is really good.
Yeah.
It was good in the series.
And it's good here
it's
again.
Really good here.
There's again a really great sense of mass organisation and, impossible deadlines, and Misato doing her job really well. Like, she's a strategist who came up with this preposterous idea that no one else would have come up with, and she organises it to a T, and everyone seems, it seems to reinforce the whole idea of why Misato is actually in charge, because this is genius.
Yeah. So all of Japan comes together. Every agency, they build, again, probably the most incredible thing humanity has ever built.
Yeah.
Massive positronic sniper rifle.
Yeah.
Because you can't get close to this thing.
No.
And then, they're like, great, we have a plan.
Yeah.
We get like one shot, but we will shoot it, blow out the core.
And that'll be that.
Happy days.
And practically everything is pretty much played the same. Rei comes to see Shinji in bed.
And Shinji's like, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And we have a big change. Because remember, like, everyone's ready, but Shinji doesn't go.
Oh, that's right, because he's out on that bridge, isn't he?
Yeah, so Shinji does not want to come. And this entirely new scene, and it's telling that it's a very good scene.
Yes, but also, just before you get into that, Misato has a sympathetic tone.
Yeah.
So, although she's like, this is your job. Yeah, I thought you said you were going to stick with NERV. I thought this was your job. And he goes, I'm scared. And suddenly her manner changes. And it's not, you're so pathetic, or you should want to do it like we always had from the show. It was, I'm going to show you something. And
it makes... I'll say this as a point of praise. Like, everyone's character motivation makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
Everyone has an arc.
I mean, we've got a great moment coming up, obviously.
Yeah.
But
so she goes, he goes like, well, look, it's not fair. You guys are all safe. I have to go up there and fight it alone. And she goes, I'm going to show you something. And she takes him down through NERV.
Right to the depths.
Down to basement triple E.
Yeah.
The gates of hell, and they open, and what do they see?
They see Lilith, John!
Lilith!
Which
is interesting, because in the 6 episodes of the TV series...
we ain't seen no Lilith.
Yeah.
No. We haven't seen Lilith for a long time. The only reason we know who Lilith is because we've seen the whole show.
So I guess because we're doing this in chronological order, like, we know more about the series outside of what we've seen.
Yeah.
But if someone is watching along with us, be like, what the hell is this? What's going on?
Exactly, yeah.
So Lilith is basically, it's like a vision of hell. It's like something that Dante wrote about.
Yeah.
So there is this vast chamber, probably like miles below the surface. A sea of kind of like orange goo.
It kind of looks like cellular structures. Like there's sort of like hanging globules.
Oh, those,
and veins and all sorts of stuff around the area.
Yeah, no, you're right, because they keep descending, and it is like going through the layers of hell.
Yeah, it is.
Because you go through this layer, and I think that's the Eva graveyard.
Ah, right, yeah.
So you get like these giant nervous systems.
Yeah. But like too big, even for an Eva. Like,
yeah, I guess so, yeah.
Massive.
And what looked like a tree.
Yeah.
Like a great big fleshy tree or something. It wasn't great.
No.
Like, it's pretty horrible.
You're going to wonder whether Anno or any of the production/creative team have any real care or idea for the geography of this. Or whether it's literally just, I know, as we pass down here, shall we show them some crazy stuff? Like, more to create a sense of radical weirdness.
But of course, the thing I really struck by is like, everything about NERV is gigantic.
Yeah.
And
impossibly so.
Inhuman, I would say, and also kind of like, you can't reason with it.
No.
So, and that's characterised by these incredibly oversized corridors.
Yeah, and foyers and atriums and all sorts. And I'm fine with that.
No, and I like it because it's a look.
Too.
It's a thing they're going for.
It's a characteristic, yeah.
But it's actually kind of it's crossing over into the realm of unreality and like dream. Because in reality, no facility could be this big.
No, not at all.
It's incredible. It's ridiculous. It's like
over the top.
It's like paranoia and conspiracy and schizophrenia. Like, no sinister organization running the world could be this big, but that's what it feels like. This is the incredible machinery running the world.
I think the more you say it, the more conspiracy theory is a really good analogue for a lot of what they were going for with NERV and Evangelion as a whole. Like, the whole story is told from the perspective of what a conspiracy theorist or crazy, like, paranoid person sees the world like.
Mm-hmm.
You know, certainly in the sense that we've got a quasi-government agency which is in charge of the end of the world and is trying to bring about something which the public and the populace have no say in. There's nothing democratic about it at all. And it's all control.
Yeah.
So there's a lot there actually.
And it's nightmarish. Like these
Absolutely.
are meant to be the good guys.
Sinister.
I mean,
nightmarish.
we're on the side of NERV to some extent,
To
aren't
some
we?
extent, yeah.
And yet the things they've built are monstrous.
Mm.
And right down in the basement, they have Lilith, which is a... Now, this is interesting. I think we should probably... Because the end of the movie is almost beat for beat how it was in the original series. Like
Almost. There's an important point to
yeah, I mean, but
reference,
ultimately,
yeah.
like, they shoot Ramiel.
Yeah.
They are able to kill Ramiel. Maybe I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. But things like in the movie, there are these big mythology story beats stuck in. There's not a lot of them,
No.
but it's a hell of a difference to what we've seen in the series so far.
Yeah, definitely. So definitely so far, yeah.
Because Lilith is a giant white humanoid.
Yep.
Its lower limbs are missing,
Yes.
and coming from like the ragged
Bulbous.
stump where its torso ends
Yeah.
are hundreds of little limbs,
Yeah.
like
They're
tiny,
all legs, I think, aren't they? Yeah.
like hundreds of like tiny humans, kind of like.
and some of them are sort of struggling, kind of.
And Lilith has like a weird purple mask,
Yeah.
bit like an angel,
Yep.
with like 7 eyes on it.
But it didn't in the movie.
They've changed it in the movie, haven't
Yeah.
they? Yeah, different design.
Yeah.
And it is crucified, like actually nailed to a giant cross,
Nails through its hands. Yeah.
and piercing it through the chest is a massive spear.
Yeah.
Now, we know some of this stuff because this,
And also an orange liquid is leaking out of that
which I
wound.
believe is LCL.
Yes, because that's where they get it from.
Yeah, it's what they
Yeah.
breathe when they're in.
The cockpit.
Yeah, so they're
Yeah.
literally just like.
That must smell really bad.
Because
surely.
Shinji says at one point it smells like blood.
Oh, does he?
Yeah.
Oh, right, there you go then. Yeah.
It's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and Misato says, this is Lilith. It is the source of all life on Earth.
Yes.
The second impact event wiped out half of humanity
Mm.
and ruined the planet, basically. Oceans are red, temperature's risen. If the angels reach Lilith,
They will bring about.
third impact, she
Yeah.
says, and it will destroy us all. It will end the world.
Yeah.
That's why we have to stop.
Yeah.
And she said, this building is primed so that if an angel ever gets down to basement Triple E, the entire facility will detonate.
Yeah.
And we will all die, but we have to stop the angels getting to Lilith.
Which makes you wonder why they haven't destroyed Lilith already.
Yes. That were, well, quite, yeah.
Mm.
So that is more story, like,
In like a burst of 30 seconds.
than we've had in the entire series so far.
Yeah, definitely.
And I know my memory of the series, I don't think any of that stuff is really revealed until later. And even
No.
then, it's a bit ambiguous.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And there's differences between the movies and the TV series, so we're kind of fumbling in the dark a little bit here.
Yeah,
But
it's a bit crazy. But also, like, it's not... If the rebuild was following the exact timeline of events as the show, it's not a deal breaker that Lilith gets revealed early like this.
No.
Because, not Misato and Shinji can't do anything with that information,
No.
and they never do.
I think it's actually better.
Yeah, I agree.
The
yeah.
main series keeps you waiting for information for so long.
Yeah, a heck of a lot longer. Yeah.
But we were debating, because off air, we were kind of wondering in the main series how much Misato actually knew.
Yeah.
Because she's commanding a military operation, but we were wondering, had she just been hired to do that?
Yeah.
Did she know anything about the weird mythology behind the Evas and everything? And
Yeah.
But it's weird. You don't know where Lilith came from. You don't know why they're even keeping it alive. If it's that dangerous, why not just kill it?
Yeah.
But Shinji, and she says basically, like, look, we'll all die if they get to Lilith. You're not the only one in danger.
Yeah.
And Shinji has a really cool moment, and he goes, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I'll do
and
it.
And we actually commented that he's drawn really awesomely in that sequence. Like he's sort of shot from above and he's sort of looking up, and there's this really heroic like sense of responsibility.
He looks
on
like
his
a
face.
protagonist. He looks
like a badass.
Yeah, he
yeah.
looks, and he squeezes her hand.
Yeah.
And it's like, yes, I'll do it.
Yeah, I get it.
So
Yeah.
that's an insert. That's never in the entire...
No.
But then we jump back into doing a pretty faithful recreation.
Absolutely. And the only big thing really that's that different, other than the general slickness of how the whole thing is presented, is the moment where after they fire the first shot from the sniper rifle,
Yes.
it looks like it hits, but it misses.
Yeah.
And Ramiel sort of reassembles herself and is primed to attack again.
Yeah.
And you suddenly realise, like, oh god, like, it didn't work. And at that moment, it fires, I think, and that's when Rei takes the shot with the shield and everything. And then it's at that moment that Gendo says something to the effect
Well,
of...
this is after the first shot, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because
Ava 01 has been knocked back away from the gun and everything. And Shinji is scared. I think he's crying in the cockpit. Yeah, and then Gendo says something like, This is pointless. The pilot is useless. Eject him and deploy the dummy plug system." And I think Shinji can hear that over like the intercom and the radio and everything. And Misato comes up on his screen, and she looks just a determined look on her face, and she says something like, "Believe in your son. Give him a chance."
Yeah.
Kind of thing. He wants to do this. He said he would do this.
Yeah, he chose to pilot.
He chose to pilot the Ava, exactly. And then at the same time, the music's rising.
It's getting heroic,
Shinji sort of reorientates himself in the cockpit, pushes forward on the levers, and Ava 01 gets up and walks back towards the gun.
It's an amazing shot.
Yeah, and there's this great silhouetted shot of Unit 1 picking up the sniper rifle, like silhouetted against a mountainside. And Shinji hasn't given up. Like, yes, he was scared, he was shocked, he was terrified, but Misato believed in him, and Shinji, while Misato was saying you should give him another shot and everything, he was proving her right, and he was getting up and he was going back into the battle and he wasn't running away. And Gendo goes, "Fine, whatever," sort of thing. And they prepare for the second shot. And that never happened in the show. There was never that amazing hero moment where now the full arc was now completed from the little bit with Lilith now right up to the final moment where even in the heat of battle, he didn't run away and Misato stood up for him in the face of the terrifying leader of NERV.
Because both Misato and Shinji have an arc.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it works like a movie. Who knew?
Yeah,
it works like a free
should.
act movie. Yeah, and it's like everything we didn't like about the opening 6 episodes has been kind of improved,
literally rebuilt.
It's so much tighter as a story.
Yeah,
and the emotional beats hit home.
They do.
You do feel sorry for Shinji, and you feel proud of him when he rises up. And it's like, this is a movie.
Yeah, this
is a story. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it works very well.
Yeah, it does.
And they do their thing, and they kill Ramiel.
Yeah.
And it looks fantastic. I mean, like, as we said earlier, like, Ramiel looks incredible. It's benefited so much from this rebuild thing.
And then when it dies, it sort of becomes bigger than it ever was. Like this huge polygonal, screaming hedgehog of spikes. And then it dissolves into blood again.
Turns to blood, and off it goes. And then, the usual thing, Rei is, trapped in the little dummy plug. Shinji goes down to rescue her, mimics Gendo saving her, exactly just like in the story.
Yeah, just like in the show.
And and they have a nice little moment at the end. And it wasn't too different, but I think it was handled slightly better.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. And then there's the final shot of the movie.
Oh, good grief.
The camera pans up away from them in the entry plug.
So far, so familiar.
Yeah. Pans up to the moon.
The moon.
And we sort of joked like, meanwhile
on the moon.
And then sure enough, yes, it pans to the moon.
And, okay. So, step into this David Lynch-esque nightmare with us for a moment. The moon.
Yeah.
Very bright white light. Of course, there's no atmosphere.
No.
The moon. A little bit of an
Not
and there are 7,
it seems,
I think, coffins
in a line
on the moon.
Yeah. Just in the middle of nowhere.
Just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Some are open. I didn't count how many. Maybe like 3 are open.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
And then the middle one opens, or kind of it's already open, but a kid
sits up. Yeah.
A very pale-skinned kid, white hair, kind of red eyes. Now this is Kaworu.
Yeah, we know Kaworu.
But of course, no glimmer of him in the TV series yet. He turns up much, much later.
Yeah.
But he's alive on the moon.
Here he is.
He's alive on the moon, and one of the Sealay black monoliths appears above him.
Yeah.
And they say some kind of like gibberish, like he's like, so the boy has arrived or something like that.
They're obviously talking about Shinji, aren't they?
Yeah.
He's awoken or something.
And the monolith is like, yes, and the hour of the convergence is coming upon us, human instrumentality and everything. And you get a cut of a
huge humanoid.
Massive humanoid.
Ava-sized.
And it looks like Lilith, to be honest.
Does. But it has legs.
But my understanding, I think, is that it is an Eva unit. Previously unseen.
Right.
Didn't exist in the original series.
And it's wearing the mask that Lilith used to wear in the TV show.
You're right.
With the weird 7 eyes and the sort of half and half thing.
There you go. Yeah.
So they've switched out who was wearing which mask.
And it's like wrapped in like a white kind of like film or like a sheet. So it does look like Lilith.
It does.
But I understand that is Kaworu's Eva.
But it doesn't have any armour on yet.
No.
It's just the humanoid body underneath.
And then Kaworu kind of looks up at Earth and goes like, I look forward to meeting you, Shinji Ikari,
Yeah.
and then end.
To be continued.
Boom. Smash cut credits.
There you go.
And then you get the credits, and there's a funky little tune over credits, and then it goes like, preview for EVA 2.22, and you just see like
Loads of stuff.
like
Half of which isn't in the movie.
like EVA, like Unit 2, Asuka,
Yeah.
stuff blowing up,
Unit 3.
Unit 4,
Yeah.
like it's just a boom, 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 all this stuff's
An
happening.
angel
I'm
we've never seen before.
I recognize some of this stuff from the series, and then like a new Eva descending from the sky.
Yeah. With a different sort of visor on its head.
And then just, that's it.
That's it. That's the end.
There's your lot. And, yeah. And there it is. And that is Eva 2.22.
Yeah.
No, 1.11. Sorry, yeah, I'm getting ahead of myself. So, I think it's fair to say that we enjoyed it.
Definitely. Yeah.
I thought it was really good.
I thought it was really good.
Yeah, it is a distillation of what made Evangelion good.
Yeah, and I think maybe distillation is the perfect word, because all of this time we've been talking about the bits we love and the bits we don't like so much, and we're getting through it on the bits that we love.
Mm-hmm.
And if some magic wand could come along and take all the best bits and sew them together into a great new story, and that's kind of what this film does.
Mm-hmm.
Aside from the fact that the film does have a couple of the bad bits that we hate in it, especially the Rei scene, overall, because of the structure, because of the weird subject matter and everything we love about Evangelion, it shines and it is good.
And I'm actually wondering to myself, like, we've been looking for that moment where if you were going to introduce Evangelion to someone, what would you do?
Where'd
and
you start?
I think it would be this movie.
Yeah.
And it's a shame, really, because if the Rebuild series had continued in this fashion of remaking the entire story as 4 movies, I think it might have been something fantastic.
Yeah, but instead, as we know, it sort of goes off and tells its own story, which could have been fine, but when Hideaki Anno is faced with creating a new story from scratch again, I don't know.
I mean, the problem is that when you follow the Rebuild series, we pretty soon end up in completely uncharted territory.
Doesn't take long now, yeah.
It's very hard to say, is this indicative of Evangelion? Because we don't know where it's going.
No.
But if this was just a standalone movie, and there was nothing else,
you'd almost be tempted in a way, wouldn't you, to show someone this movie and then just go straight into episode 7.
Yeah. Yeah, like this is great.
Because you could be invested from this movie.
It's basically like if I'd been involved in the project of making Rebuild, I would have considered this a success. I would have been very hopeful for the future.
Yes.
About what would have happened.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fantastic. It loses a lot of the unnecessary stuff. It accentuates what makes it good, and yeah, I think it's perfect Evangelion, really.
Absolutely.
Interesting that, like, I guess in watching it in this order, we're now kind of going back into the series, maybe knowing more than we should do at this point. But we knew a lot anyway. But
yeah,
it's interesting. It'll be interesting to see now that we're going to go from knowing a bit to suddenly going back to the series where they continue to hold information back for a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's a bit like, I don't know, it's one of those series where I guess something like Twin Peaks or one of these series with like great unsolved mysteries where there's this massive community about the speculation and trying to understand it. And it's interesting because maybe you wouldn't have that if they'd explained it, if they'd been more upfront.
And this is the age-old thing, isn't it? It's like, was this intended? You know, with all of these shows that often try and create and end up creating a sense of community because of the mysterious qualities that they have. Was that the plan? And I don't think you can plan for something like that. I think when you're writing a story, all you can think about is making your story, is telling your story and making sure that you do everything in your power to communicate this great idea that you've had. And some people can go too far with that and things can be exposition heavy and too wordy and stuff. And then some people can not go far enough and their idea is so solid in their head, but they never quite communicate it. And I feel like that's where Anno falls with Evangelion. But, you know, you've got to think about the whole community thing as well, you know, and building this huge love for it. If it was clear, if it was crystal clear and we knew exactly what was going on, would it be as successful? Would it be as famous? Would it have this community around it? Maybe it wouldn't.
It is weird because I know Evangelion is both kind of loved and joked about.
Yeah.
Because clearly it did some things right.
Yeah.
Because clearly, like, it's been very influential. People still talk about it. We're rewatching it now. But it frustrates a lot of people as well.
Frustrates us.
Yeah, and there's a lot of there's a lot of nonsense in there as well.
Definitely, yeah.
So I don't know. It's weird. Like, would I, at the sake of losing some of the mystery, would I rather they just?
I know I would.
Yeah.
I know that if tomorrow Anno could wheel out the Evangelion Explained, and it was a 4-hour, explanation of everything, hopefully as a story, I would go to that immediately and I would watch it. I would consume that. I want to understand it. I care more about seeing what is in his head and what his plans for this whole story and these characters were, rather than maintaining the mystery.
And the question is, like, did he intentionally hold stuff back and then think I'll remake it later, or did he, like, do you think he failed in telling the story originally and now he's trying to make it right, or is he always just erring on the side of I'd rather be a bit vague?
I think maybe failed is a harsh word, but essentially yes.
In his own eyes, perhaps.
Yeah.
Because it's an interesting thing to go back to the same project so many times.
Yeah, but then as we've discovered with Rebuild, he hasn't gone back to retell it. He's gone back to do a new story.
Which is what I'm wondering. Is it like, does he feel he's perfecting it or adding to it? Is he going back to...
I think he feels he's adding to it.
Yeah.
I think he's telling a different story this time.
No.
It's just that the first 6 episodes of it, for some reason, seem to be exactly the same. I don't know how his brain works.
Because it's kind of like the... it's like... Star Wars is an interesting comparison because I mentioned George Lucas earlier, but it's like George Lucas was endlessly re-releasing the original trilogy.
He was.
It wasn't even just like one special edition. He kept doing it like every 5 years or a couple of years. And it was almost like an obsession because some things were understandable. Like, say, it always bugged him that the Ewoks' eyes never moved because they were models. So then, they can go in and they can digitally just make the eyes move a bit. And I'm like, okay, I can see your point. It's like you had a vision.
And the technology didn't allow it.
You couldn't do it at the time. But when it's like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to add some CGI dinosaurs walking across the screen, or like I'm going to make 30 stormtroopers in a room when there was only like 5 before, it's kind of like...
It's the thing is that like Evangelion, Star Wars is already well loved for what it is. Rebuild was never necessary. Like, I don't think anyone was crying out for it necessarily. Although that said, I don't know. Like, because there was all that talk around a live action Evangelion for a while, and people were desperate for that. And I think maybe there is some outcry for a rebuild, mainly because of answers to questions. The issue with Star Wars, and the difference between Star Wars and Evangelion, is that the story makes sense.
Yeah.
Everyone knows what's happening in Star Wars.
Yeah, fundamentally, but it's a very straightforward story.
So George Lucas isn't worried that, you need to go back and make Luke's plight clearer. Or, who was that Obi-Wan guy? We should make that a bit clear. He's not doing it for that reason. He's just doing aesthetic cherry-on-top type changes. Yeah. Was Anno worried about the clarity of his story? No, I don't think he was. But I think the fans were. And that's why the fans were looking forward to Rebuild. And certainly what we thought we were getting when we saw 1.11 was, this is all starting to make sense.
If I could be a fly on the wall, I would really love to know who instigated some of the changes we really liked.
Yeah, true.
Like, because mostly it amounted to 2 lines of dialogue in each scene just to clarify it.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, do you think he was looking at it for 20 years going like, I wish I'd done that a little bit differently? Or because we create stuff. Yeah, and I know I look back at stuff I've done, I always think like, I would have done that differently.
I wish I could recreate that.
But if you had the opportunity, would you be like, for the sake of inserting an extra line, I can make that scene entirely make sense again?
Yeah.
Or, were the people? Was it the people he was working with, and they were like, well, look, this is a beloved classic, but it's very obtuse and people have trouble getting into it. So for the sake of a little bit of exposition, can we make it a bit more user-friendly? And then a whole new audience will love it. Yeah. And you'll get new fans.
We'll never know.
We'll never know, but it's fascinating.
I get the feeling that it is the latter. Because then it goes off the rails again. Yeah. And that's the Anno magic, isn't it? Like that's
I guess that's what you pay for, really.
Yeah. I mean, I know everyone tells a story in a different way, and maybe some people, maybe Anno is one of these people who can tell a story like this and not feel the need to tie off the loose ends and to not make everything intimately clear. I don't know. I don't even know how you go about making something like that, because either you know everything and you only reveal 20% of it, or you don't know everything and you just riff it out. And I don't think it's really either of those, so I don't really know what it is he's done. It's weird.
I'm very glad that this movie got made.
I am too.
It is. Yeah. It's great.
It's really
I do really like it. And yeah, there's still a couple of weird things, but I'd be happier presenting this to the world
Absolutely.
than I think the original 6 episodes.
Mm.
So, yeah, a good experience.
All
I
round.
think. Now, should we do the Impact and Shinji
I
rating?
think we should, yeah.
I've got 2 numbers in mind.
I think I do as well, yeah.
Impact,
Yeah.
I want to say... Oh, I'm doubting myself now. I
Go
want
on,
to
say
say 8.
I was going to say 9.
Oh, there we go. I was debating 9.
Okay.
So should we do like 8.5?
8.5 is fine.
8.5?
Yeah.
Shinji-ness, I want to say 2.
Yeah.
There we go.
Cool. Agreed.
It's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's very good stuff, actually.
I don't know if that ranks as the strongest episode. We'll let you find out by looking at our ratings online.
Yeah, I think I forget the stats every time
Yeah,
we do it.
yeah.
It means, hopefully it keeps us honest. But,
yeah, I think it does. Yeah.
but yeah, no, I'm very, very much looking forward to getting this one up there. And
Yeah.
hopefully introducing a whole new generation to the wonder of Evangelion.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. If you're listening to this and you haven't, or have only just watched 1.11 for the first time, or are now going to go watch it off the back of what we've said, then I am very excited to. I wish I was in your shoes, because the first time I watched 1.11 was in a cinema.
Really?
Yeah, because amazingly, when they were first released, long before they were on DVD and Blu-ray or whatever, there was this really, really limited, book now, super limited seating for a showing of 1.11 and 2.22 back to back.
Wow.
In a little London cinema. And I found it just randomly in searching on the internet. I can't remember how. And I rang my brother up because he was a really big fan of Evangelion as well.
Yeah.
And I said, Phil, we've got to go. And I think he was at uni and I might have just finished uni. I can't remember which way round everything was. And I was like, I'll buy the tickets. We'll just go. You just gotta come down to London on this day. And he was like, okay, yeah. And we went down, and it was great. We sat in a cinema, watched the first one. Then you popped out into the foyer while they'd changed everything, and I think there was a bar, so we had a drink and stuff. And then we went straight back in and watched 2.22. And so the first time I ever saw 1.11, I went straight into and saw 2.22 immediately afterwards, and I saw them both in the cinema, which was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah. It's quite an experience.
I have an odd little story about this one as well, because it seems clearly there are old stories about it. I was a big fan of Evangelion from uni, as we've said before, and I remember my younger brother, went on a trip to Japan.
Oh, right.
And he came back and he got everyone a present, and he got me a DVD of an anime. Right. And he said he just randomly picked it out, and honestly, he had no idea what I liked or didn't like. Just grabbed a completely random thing. And it was Evangelion 1.11.
Ah!
Japanese DVD in this lovely hardback red box case.
Oh, wow.
I'll show it to you, actually. It's solid red, little bit of black text on it.
I think I've seen a picture of it
Almost
before.
like no indication of what it is. Obviously, there's no English subtitles or dub.
It's amazing that he got that.
And when you open it, there's like a little acetate, I think, of a bit of animation.
Oh,
in
wow,
it.
like a cell.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
That's cool. You have to show me that, definitely.
Yeah, I will. And I was like, wow, that's really...
What a good present.
Yeah, and he was so shocked that he actually found something I really liked.
He thought he just bought some random old
yeah,
tap.
I mean, what are the odds? Like, out of all the anime
I know.
in Japan.
Was it the cover, do you think, that caught his eye?
I don't know.
It was just solid red.
Maybe it was a big release. Maybe, like, if you go into the Japanese version of HMV,
yeah,
it's like it was at the front or something. Maybe. They just found it.
Yeah.
But no, it was a good purchase.
Yeah, cool.
I remember watching it while I was still living at home, actually. And, kind of like, obviously not having the subtitles or anything, but kind of knowing what was going on anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I remember we'll get to 2.22, of course, but I remember I watched it once. I just, of an afternoon, I think a Sunday afternoon, when I was living at home, and my dad just wandered in about a sort of, I don't know, an eighth into the movie. He was like, what's this? And I was like, Dad, you're not going to get this. Like, I don't expect you to sit. He was like, no, I'll watch it. And he sat and watched the whole of 2.22 with me at the end. And at the end, I just went, because obviously, as we're going to mention, it goes a little bit mental.
Yeah.
But it is just about cohesive, unless you're expecting it to follow the events of the show. And at the end, I was like, did you enjoy that then? He was like, I didn't understand much of it, but I did kind of enjoy it, yeah. I was like, fair play.
There we
go.
I guess when we cross the end of Evangelion Bridge, that's another one entirely, isn't it? Like another kettle of fish.
Whew.
But hey, there we go.
There we go.
So it's been an absolute pleasure.
Yep.
I feel going through this again, and I look forward to getting back into the main series.
Yeah.
Because I think we're very nearly at the point where I think Asuka's going to be turning up now, isn't she?
If it's not the next episode, it's the one after that.
Good stuff, and I'm sure we'll have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. Cool.
So until next time, folks, we've been Nich and Jon, and remember, however bad your life may be, you could always be Shinji Ikari. Unless it's Evangelion 1.11, and then
he's actually kind of a hero.
Kind of a heroic. We love you, Shinji. I love you, Shinji.
Shinji. Cool.